Hello and welcome to our third annual virtual coffee Hacktoberfest initiative. Virtual coffee. Yep, VCHI. We say it that way, so I don't have to say it anymore. We are very excited to be here kicking off this third time we've been doing this. And every time we've done it, we've always created an issue that folks can walk through and get their first pull request so we can help people to see that open source is fun and it's something that we can do together. But if you're joining us for the first time, we are Virtual Coffee, and our mission is to be a welcoming tech community that allows room for growth and mentorship at all levels and to create meaningful opportunities for learning, leadership, and contribution for everyone. You can find out more about us on our site at virtualcoffee.io. And now I'm going to send it over to Dan, who is going to walk us through the issue we're going to be working on today.
Thanks, Becca. How's everybody doing? Hi. So yeah, just real quick, I wanted to just share a little bit about Hacktoberfest. This, Becca mentioned this is our third year doing this virtual coffee. Last year we had, let's see, we had 100 members sign up between contributors and mentors and maintainers, and we had at least 66 people merged at least one pull request, and we collectively created 336 merged pull requests in the month. So that was pretty cool. Hopefully we can beat that this year. We'll see. I don't know, it's always a fun time. So we, just as a couple of quick things, we have that Hacktoberfest room. So in Slack, if you're not in there yet, go ahead and join. And I just opened up the Hacktoberfest co-working room. So it's just like our regular co-working room, except that, I don't know, it's sort of themed for Hacktoberfest stuff. So feel free to jump in there anytime you're working, and people can do questions and stuff like that. We might do a couple little events in there, and whatever, but it's there for everybody to join as well. Yes, I have the David Pumpkins jacket on. I have the tie. I can't find it. I don't know. I thought it was in the pocket of the jacket and it's not. And so I don't know. I'll find it, or I won't. I don't know. But anyway, so yeah, so the last 2 years, so the very first year we did this, the issue that we did was adding your member profile to our members page. So here, let me share my screen and we can kind of get rolling with this screen. It's big. And sure, okay. Well, that's not quite right. One moment, almost there, getting there, bigger. Got it. Okay. Hopefully people can see this. And if anybody, while I'm talking, just feel free to interrupt or use Slack. While I'm screen sharing, the chat is hard to see. So if you feel more comfortable putting a question into the chat, Becca can interrupt me. She has no problem doing that. So this is our members page, right? And we have a lot of our members have done this, and some have not, both new and old. So it's always kind of fun to get people in here that haven't done it yet. And so there is the issue for adding yourself to the members page is right here. It's issue number 13. I will put this, all right, put this in the Slack. I know I got away. Nope, it's gone. Where's chat? I'm sorry, I haven't done Zoom stuff for a while. So do we know where chat is? It's here. I found it. Chat. Got it. Link. There we go. Okay, so if you haven't done that yet, this will be the first step. And I'll run through this a little bit. And then there's a brand new issue. So if you already have your member profile in there, which a lot of people do, there's a new thing. We're starting to do badges for our members. So right now, the only badge is the Hacktoberfest 2022 badge. And updating it, this will be sort of a self-serve sort of situation. So we can add your badges. If you make up other badges, they both won't show up, and I probably won't accept the PR. But we will down the line add some more badges to kind of showcase the stuff that our members are up to. So yeah, I guess I was going to ask. I can't really see everybody here, but maybe raise your hand if you have not done the initial one. If you don't have a member profile on there, hit the hand raise function just so I can see how many people are already on there or are not on there. And I kind of tailor some stuff to that. Yeah, we got Lauren. All right, cool.
I
So,
don't actually know, so maybe.
well, you would have had to
We
do
can
it
look at
yourself.
it.
So
Cool.
no, I'm definitely, yeah, it's going to be no problem to look at it, and it'll be pretty common. There's the stuff that's in there is in there for everybody else as well.
Cool.
So the first thing you want to do for all of this is to clone the repository to your local machine. So the best way to do that, is here in this code situation. So depending on what you use for Git, there's a lot of different ways to do this. I like to use like Git clients. So VS Code has one built in, and we can do that. I use an app called Tower on the Mac, which is really, really great. Obviously, you can do this from the command line as well. So I'm going to probably stick with using VS Code most of the time in this demo. I hope that's okay with everybody. I don't really use the terminal very much, and so you just see me flipping around a lot. But feel free to ask questions about about the terminal or any other Git questions you have at any time, and we can kind of get going. This like event is much more of a collaborative workshop sort of situation than a presentation. I don't really want to sit here and talk the whole time. I'm just going to kind of walk through the process. And at any time, if anybody gets stuck, just raise your hand or shout or put it in chat or something, and I'd be fine to just stop and we'll get everybody going through this. So
I just want to pause for 1
Yeah, go ahead.
second. So I didn't mention, but if you haven't signed up for DigitalOcean's Hacktoberfest and you want to get their swag and their, yes, just swag, I dropped the link in the chat. So go ahead and register for that before doing this PR, so it counts towards that.
Yes, that's a good call. It's hacktoberfest.com. I always it used to be .DigitalOcean, but I guess they bought the .com. So it's here. It's free to sign up, all that stuff. So yeah, so this is like my existing workspace, but I'm going to create a new one to sort of kind of walk through this situation. So what we want to do is clone Git repository. Right? So we open a new window, you can clone a Git repository. And so that URL is the one that I'm going to hit enter here, but that is the URL. I got that URL by going to the repo and code, and then you can copy. If you're using the GitHub CLI, that there's like other different ways to go about things. This way is pretty straightforward. Then it'll ask you to pick a folder and all that stuff. So we'll call it VC2, I guess. And it's going to clone all of our stuff down. And so the other way to do this, the other way to go about this, and this is, yes, open the clone repository. Yes, I'd like that. The other way to go about this, so this change specifically, and a lot of other changes that you're going to end up doing on GitHub, maybe you don't always need to clone the repository. Like you don't always need to like check it out on your own machine. All right. So the other way to go about this is, let's say if you wanted to, you were contributing to docs on a repo or something like that, right? You can go in GitHub, right? You can, all right, this is going to be, oh yeah, README. So I should have done this in a profile that's doesn't have access to this. Let me go, what's a good repo to test on? How about, I don't know, GitHub React or something. I don't know. This is just going to be a silly thing to do on this, but so this is like their docs thing. And this is another way to do it. All right. So if I want to say, okay, I want to adjust their contributing, suggest an adjustment to their contributing to docs, right? And this is a repo that I do not have like write access to, right? I'm not a member of this organization. So I could check it out, and I'll go back to VS Code in a second, but I could do that, check it out, and make some commits and push it up, and then create a pull request. Another thing in GitHub you can do is if you hit this edit thing, what it'll do is, so you'll get this message that's kind of explaining what's going on. but it will do a lot of this stuff for you. And so you can make some changes. Testing, yes. Hopefully this doesn't actually, oh no, propose changes. Okay, so I think what this does is actually creates a fork on your repo and then creates a pull request there. But you can do a lot of editing in GitHub, and I actually like doing this, especially for stuff where I don't need to see it running to know if I did it right, you know? So like lots of times docs, readmes, things like that. It's a nice way to do it, and GitHub does a really good job of like pulling together all of the pieces. So, oh yeah, and so that reminds me. All right, so when you go back to, sorry, I got mixed up here. The first real step you want to do, if you're not going to follow that, right? If you're going to do it, checking out locally, the first step you want to do is actually create a fork of the repo. So, what you do then is hit this big fork button, right? And what that does is, oh, fork already exists. That's great. What's another repo that, well, they probably have a, so let's go to, sure, React documentation in Spanish. So let's pretend that I know Spanish and wanted to fork this, right? So fork this, what this does is creates a whole copy of the entire repo on your own user, right? And this is the way that you can make changes to GitHub organizations, GitHub repos that you don't have control of, right? So what you do is make the change on your copy inside your username, and then make a pull request from here to there. So I going back to, all right, let's see if I have this checked out already. All right, so what I'm gonna do is I think I can just delete this, and I'm gonna start fresh so we can watch what happens when we start fresh. So this is an older fork of the virtual coffee site, and what I'm doing is deleting it because this is like, I'm just deleting that's a double triple tech. I'm deleting my forked version of the virtual coffee site, not the real one, right? Yeah, I totally understand. Oh, let me grab my little thing here. Sorry. There we go, verifying. That's me, I promise. Okay. So on virtual coffee, if I want to make some changes, I'm not a member of the thing, what I do is the same thing, right? Fork, choose my user and create fork, right? And so this will copy the main branch and a fork. And so this is actually if you already did the origin thing, or if you already checked it out on VS Code in the version I had you do before, it's fine. I'll show you how to add a remote here in a second. But this is now my the Daniel T. Ott version of Virtual Coffee IO. So I can make changes. I can make any changes to this thing. Never going to break anything on the Virtual Coffee site, right? So that's one of the things that I think new people are, and myself included, get really nervous about, is breaking something, right? I don't know, like I'm worried I'm going to break something. And so that's one of the best things about having a fork, is that you're never going to hurt the original thing, because it's completely separate. And the goal here is to make some changes and then propose them. And the maintainers will make sure that nothing is broken, before they merge the changes. Okay, and so we have, all right, and so if you have checked this fork out, if you've forked Virtual Coffee in the past, they have this really nice sync fork feature, which will catch your forked version up to what we have. And if you have forked Virtual Coffee in the past, like anytime past the last week, I would highly advise you doing this before we get any further, because there's a lot of changes. And I pushed up a bunch of changes recently that reorganized like the file system and things like that. And so if you haven't done this, you might end up with some merge conflicts. This is a good thing to do anytime you're about to make some changes. Even if on a different repo, you forked it and made some changes, and now you're ready for a different feature, like go ahead and make sure you're up to date before you start your new changes, because if it's an active repo, there's always going to be changes, and merge conflicts are a pain. If you can avoid them, then that's good. You're not always going to avoid them, but like starting from a fresh, like up-to-date copy is always going to be a good call. All right, so let's go back to VS Code. So I have checked out this, and I checked it out from the like global version, the virtual coffee version, right? And you're allowed to do that on any public repo. It's fine, but you're not going to be able to push up your changes if you don't have like right access to the repo, which most people don't on open source projects. So if you're in VS Code, there's like I said, there's different ways to do this, but if you're in VS Code, you can go to the source control situation. And if you, this little ... guy here, I can make this bigger. It's probably too small. All right. Can people see this menu? Should I make it bigger? We okay? All right. Lauren's
Still a
not.
little small. You can make it bigger.
All right. Bigger. All right. Here we go. All right. I guess the menu stays the same size. Sorry.
Yeah.
Okay. So what we're talking about here is remotes. And so the remote a remote is the link to the repo. And so when you're working on open source, lots of times you have like if you've checked out the code straight from the organization, you have that's the original one, and then you can add your forked version. So this is my forked version of the site, Daniel Tiat, as opposed to virtual coffee. And I can add that. And I'm going to say this is Daniel Tiat. All right, and give it a name. I give it the same name as would I like it to appear? Oh, sure. Yeah, why not? That seems helpful. Okay, cool. And so the next step you want to do here is create a branch, right? So that's another thing. It's an easy mistake to make is you do this, you fork the site and you get it down and you just dig in and start making your changes. But you don't want to push up from a branch called main. It's probably not going to break anything, but it's just going to cause problems for yourself and, maybe be confusing for other people later. So before you start working, that's the easiest time to do it is create a branch. And here we're gonna, what did I say to do? I put this in the issue for creating your profile. What I like is to do some sort of members. Yeah, members / your GitHub username. Okay, so you're gonna need your GitHub username for all these steps, but I'm gonna call it Daniel. Right, so that's my GitHub username, and hit enter. And I don't know, does it switch to branching? I'm gonna assume that I'm in the branch. All right, so
Yeah,
VS Code,
yeah, you
which
can.
branch you're in right there.
Yes, on the
When you
bottom.
create a new one, it automatically switches, which is handy. And so so now we're ready to start working. All right. Okay, and so for this issue, if you have your member profile, it will be here under members, except for Becca will be under. But so if you have done it, if you've submitted your member profile before, so Alvaro is here, right? We're going to make some changes to it. If you haven't, like Lauren, we can create a new one. I haven't run. Okay, so one thing you can do once you get this, and this is VS Code specific, or I mean, no, this is virtual coffee specific, but once you check this out, if you want all of the nice helper things that VS Code does to help you out, what you want to do is just go and open your terminal. So I hit on a Mac, it's Control and then tilde. There's little buttons for it too. I'm sure people have different layouts, so my layout's a little different than everybody else's, I think. But basically get some terminal open, and then you just want to run yarn, and that will install our dependencies. If you don't have yarn installed, there are in the issue. Did I put the issue in the chat? I don't know. Here's yes. So the issue 13, there's links to our other documentation that will help you install yarn and help you install any of the other dependencies. That mostly that goes to just the README file here. So this has a lot of stuff about helping Git. Here's a README, yarn and stuff like that. I'm not going to cover that right now. Hopefully you have it, or you can follow that pretty quickly. But anyway, this will get your local dependencies in and give us some help with things like ESLint or TypeScript, which you don't need to really understand other than it will empower VS Code to help us out a little bit. All right, so if we are starting from scratch, there's an example file in here at the top, and this is set up exactly the same as all of the rest of them. And so I think from here on, if you both paths here can just like kind of follow me. I'm gonna duplicate this and call it. I already have mine in here, so I'm gonna call. Oh, well, I guess I don't remember. So t.ts. All right, so you want to call it your GitHub username .ts. Right? And that'll get your example file. All right, so going through this, we'll want to change a name and make sure it matches. So just have this match your GitHub username. If your GitHub username, and this is in the issue, sorry, so this is the oh no, it's in here, it's in 13. So there's a note on here. If you have dashes in your GitHub username for the file name and for this export thing, just take the dashes out. It doesn't super matter. Like I'm not using these names to look up anything. I'm looking up the GitHub thing, using this value to look up things later. So we can't have dashes in an export and whatever. So it's just thought it was easier to do that. And so make sure this is actually your GitHub username with dashes if there's dashes. And then after this, everything in here is pretty much optional. So the GitHub account name is required, and we're going to use this. So if we look at our members page, we're going to use that GitHub username to pull in your some like automatically pull in your name, and these pictures are coming from GitHub, and some other information like that. We have the option to overwrite that, and I'll show you that in a second, but we have the option to add your own, like a virtual coffee specific description or whatever you want to do. And then these guys will show up. I'll show you where those show up as well. But some information comes from GitHub to populate some of this stuff, including especially the profile images. And then, so we can start walking through this. If you want to have your name be something, so the way the name works is it will pull in if you uncomment any of these things, right? So if you want to do your name, you can say, put in whatever name you want here. If you leave it uncommented, it will go to GitHub and pull your, like, whatever you've set your name to be. And if you haven't set that, then it'll just stick your GitHub handle in there. That's why it's optional, but you can, I don't know, if people in Virtual Coffee know you by a different name than people on GitHub, then that's a good place to do that. If you'd like, you're like, so I'm linking the I guess it's just this link here, is the like main URL. So if you'd like that to be something interesting, you can. It will also just use your GitHub profile if you don't put anything in there. Here's bio. Bio is the, that's what shows up here if you fill it out. So it accepts Markdown. So you can do something, like, I am really cool and I love pumpkins. Okay. And all right, Flare, this is a new one. All right, so Flare is a new one, and anybody who has their existing GitHub profile exists, this is a new thing. So this is the issue that matches the new issue for this month. So this is 643. Docs in there. And so yeah, you'll notice that, like, you have to have a profile for this to work, but both new and existing people can do this now. And so this is just like, all right, so I'm gonna add more Flare things later, but what we can do here is this basically puts a cool shape around your profile photo, and I'll get this running in a second and show you how this works. But it can be kind of fun, and there's these ones to choose from. Or this also uses CSS clip path, and so if you want to try to make your own shape, go for it. There's a let me see what it's called. Clip path. All right. There's a cool little yeah. I'll put this in. So this is where I got most of these shapes from. You can, like, I picked some of these shapes, and you can, like, you can like make your own, and I don't know, draw some things and make a weird shape. I don't know. I'm not going to do that, but if you wanted to copy the path in there, you can do that too. And then accounts is Oh, I'm sorry. The flare isn't from this issue. I'm sorry. The flare is the badge. So flare is just a fun thing, and feel free to do it or not if you want. Accounts. So there's all the different types. You can uncomment these and fill them in if you'd like, and those will show up here. So if you want to add your GitHub one will always show up since that is required. But if you want to add your Twitter or anything like that, feel free to do that. And then badges. This is the new one for this year, and the only value that is valid at all is Hacktoberfest 2022. So who's in my chat window here is, but there's the value. Okay, so everybody should do this. Hacktoberfest 2022 and put that in badges. All right, and that'll give us a nice little badge running. If you want to preview this locally, the other step to do is copy where'd it go? .env.example. Okay, so copy that file and then rename it .env. All right, and so you can whatever. So I don't know why that's not working, but you can just create a new file and call it .env. There we go, and paste it in. So some of this stuff, most of the stuff isn't required. You can leave it uncommented, but you should have the .env file there so that it'll work. And then I can try running yarn here. I'm going to run it on my other one. So the way to run it locally is just run yarn dev, and that should start up a local server. So we'll see if this works. A local server on your local machine. It's building right now. And we can see what's up. All right, so we got locals ready. Other tab. There we go. Okay, so this is all right. So the files aren't running loading, but all right. So this was my we have the core member, so that's me up there, but all right, so I still am not, I meant to look at this ahead of time. I don't know why the photos don't load on local. I'm sure there's an easy explanation. I forgot to look at it, but you can see here my badge. So this is the one I just added. See my badge? You can see a little triangle shape. I can change that to, let's see if Rabbit, reload, it'll reload. And let's see if it's not caching. Yep, there we go. So we got that shape. Hopefully people can see this. All right, so I'm going to pause there. How are people doing? Is anybody lost? What have I forgotten to say? How are we doing? Everybody doing okay?
Yeah, if we want to give it, yeah, go ahead, Lauren.
Yeah, I have a quick question. The stuff you just went through made sense. At the beginning, when you were explaining cloning and then forking the repo, your explanation for forking and why you would do that made sense to me. Why would you clone? That didn't make sense to me. And I might have kind of gotten distracted because I was trying to do it at the same time. And
oh yeah, no worries. Yes, so forking is a GitHub specific thing, right? So forking is the process of creating a copy of entire repository on your account. Cloning is the action that you take when you want to have a copy of an existing thing on your machine or somewhere else. But so what you're doing is cloning you're cloning your repository, like your, I don't know what your GitHub username is, but like I'm cloning Daniel Tiat /virtual coffee onto my machine. So GitHub or Git, I mean, and this is like, so that's the difference between GitHub and Git. GitHub is a sort of service that runs Git and provides some stuff on top of it. But clone is part of the Git process, which is same as like commit and merge and things like that. And I'm not going to go super deep into it, but like clone, like Git, the way that Git is set up is what is the phrase? It's a distributed network of code source, right? And so in the old days there was like Subversion. There's other methods to do this, right? But Subversion, for instance, had one central thing, and you're always kind of like messing with that. And GitHub has every single instance of it is its own instance, and then you can push things to other instances. And so this repository exists right here. To work on it, to get it onto my machine, I need to create a clone of it on my machine, and then I'm going to push back up here. You could have that be on just some other computer and push to it probably somehow. I don't know how, but that's the
Makes
method.
sense.
Clone is the method you use to like, clone a specific instance, like to copy a specific instance onto your computer or onto another computer in general.
Yeah, there's some,
we got
Sadie
some
and Amy have some good differentiations in the chat as well.
Right. And so you can clone any public repo, like you can, anything that you have any public repo on GitHub, you can clone it. But you won't be able to make changes to it. You won't be able to push up your branches to it, things like that, because most places just have that blocked off so that only people with the right permissions can write to that repo. And so that's why the fork is the first step. And so now you control, like I control this. I have total write access over this version of it. I could delete all these files, but it's not going to affect the one that I forked from, which is the virtual coffee version. And so that's the methodology that enables all of like the open source stuff. And so it's risk-free letting people try to work on their code because, like I said, I can never break the original one because I can because I have access, but like most people can't ever break the original one on their own, right? Without a maintainer doing something like accepting a pull request, whatever. Does that make sense?
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, no problem. Okay, and so if we go back to VS Code, right? We can go back to our source control situation here, and you can see this will show you the list of files that have changed or whatever. And this is just, it should be just the one, it should be just your new or updated member profile page. And you can say, I'm going to say, this one was created my member file. Oh, yes. All right, whatever. You have to stage it first. Forgot about that. You can choose whether you want to do this automatically or not. I generally do because if I hit commit, I usually mean to do it. And then VS Code has a nice little thing of publish branch. And so it's asking me here, I don't know if it will ask you if you don't have write access, but it's asking me here, since I have both origins like on my computer, which one to push up to. If I didn't have write access to Virtual Coffee, which most people, most of the contributors aren't, or if this was a separate repo, I wouldn't be able to push this. So I could try and it would throw an error. But in our situation, we want to push back up to we want to push the branch to our, like the one that we own, right? Our fork. And if you go back into GitHub and go to pull requests, it'll say, hey, look, this had recent pushes less than a minute ago. All right. So here's where we're going to do compare a pull request. And so this is creating a pull request, right? And creating my member profile is a great title. Make your title short and descriptive. Doesn't have to say every single thing that you did. This is a pretty simple pull request in general. So it can be perfectly fine to say created my member profile or something like that. And then we have a Virtual Coffee, we have a pull request template that has some stuff that you can, edit or like read and delete. One of the important things here is to link to the issues. And so I did both, right? So I did, in this example, I added my profile and I added the Hacktoberfest badge. So I'm going to say something like this, added member profile. And all you need to do in GitHub to link an issue is just put the number in. And then I added my Hacktoberfest badge, right? Added the Hacktoberfest badge. And if you'd like, you can preview this change, but you see how GitHub, so all I did was put the number in, but GitHub does this nice thing where it adds the title. So you don't even need to write the whole title. And for this, for this example, this was a a feature where you were adding some code changes, things like that, I would very highly encourage you to fill all this stuff out. We don't need that for this. And so I'm just going to basically delete the rest of the stuff. And this is it. This is what I did in this issue. And let's say, and then this is allow edits by maintainer. I would say always keep this checked unless you have a very, very good reason not to. All right, wait, we got a comment from Jessica. We might want to mention how to close an issue for those working on other issues. Yeah. All right. So, I mean, so Jessica's right. So Jessica's saying, so there is a nice feature in GitHub where you can say closes 13, right? But, and that's what I would do. That's what I would do in any issue, like in any issue that's not this, you know, right? So if your pull request closes that, it like, you know, satisfies the conditions of that issue, you can say closes 13. And what that'll, I mean, it looks the same, but what it'll do is set up a situation where if the maintainer merges it, it will close that issue automatically, which is really nice. It's really handy. Maintainers can do that. If you forget to do that or whatever, maintainers can do, you know, hook that connection up later. I would please don't do that in this issue because we're all working off the same one. So we don't really ever want to close it. But linking them is really important. And it will, if you look at the existing add your profile, so this issue has been hanging around since 2020, October 1st. And if you scroll down past the description, you can see all of the pull requests that have been like linked and merged off of this. And it's really handy. And like, this is just cool for us, but in other situations, it's very useful to have these pull requests and issues linked together for keeping track of things and things like that. But yeah, okay. And I added a label. So Hacktoberfest 2022, if you want, this isn't super required, but it's nice. And there's a members page issue, members page label that I don't know, just makes it easier to see, I guess. Neither of these were required, but like, go ahead and do them. And then after that, just hit create pull request. And then what will happen is me as the maintainer will get an alert. We have Netlify set up to do deploy previews. So once this finishes running, you can like see if it worked. We have, and then as a maintainer, you know, maintainers will be notified of it, and we can see that in the pull request, and we can see how things are going. So that's pretty much the whole thing. How are we doing? What do we got questions wise? Got comments? Got suggestions? Spooky stories? So once this thing is done, I mean, like, you don't need to pay attention to this if you don't want to, but once this is done building, we can kind of look at the deploy preview, which will be basically a version of the site with your changes on it. I am not going to merge mine because I don't want to add myself twice, but that's pretty much the whole thing. I don't know, Becca, is there anything more that we should hit? There's plenty of different, there's some different Flare things. Oh, also just for people who are on this call, as far as like the Flare thing goes, I had this idea. I thought it'd be fun to, let me get the members, to add like Flare, but I really couldn't think of anything else that would like look good and stuff. But if anybody has suggestions for other things to do, you know, other things that would like make your little profile more fun, feel free to file an issue or just hit me up or whatever. It can just be kind of fun. Yes, Jessica, that's a great call. Okay, Jessica said, maybe we should also mention how requesting changes works. So that is a fantastic call. All right, so let me show you what this looks like from the maintainer's perspective now that there's a submitted pull request, right? All right, so here's the deploy preview. So this will be the same as, this will be members. All right, so this is the virtual coffee site, like plus my changes. And so let's find here it is. So here's like my my new profile that I just made. I got a nice little shape. I got the Hacktoberfest badge. And so I can see that it's working. And as a maintainer, this is what I'm going to look at when I look at somebody's pull request too, right? Because this lets me confirm that something's working right. I'm not breaking anything, doing what we want. if I, as a maintainer, had some changes, like if something was wrong, or if we need to tweak something, or things like that, there is a code review like workflow, right? And so as a maintainer, I'm looking at this, I'm saying, okay, well, here's this. But I, and I can comment and ask a question, I can approve it, or I can request changes. I can't request changes on my own pull request. All right, I should have probably created a different GitHub profile to do this from, I suppose. Let me think. What would be a good way to do this? Becca, do you want to?
I can push my thing up.
Oh yeah, all right, let's do that.
And then you can. I didn't look at it, so.
That's all right.
Give
Yeah,
me
we had
one
Kai.
second.
She had this. She did this earlier today. They had. I'm sorry. Yes, thank you. They had an issue. They did this earlier today, and I hadn't updated the docs, or I had a whoopsie on my part on the docs, and so I could do that here too. But Becca, if you want to push yours up, I can.
It should reload.
Did it go up? Cool. Well, I don't see it. Did you make a pull request?
Yeah, of course I made a pull request. So, give me 1 second. Sorry.
Yep, no problem. And anybody who's on this call, feel free to like do it now. You're not going to bother me. Like, it'll be cool to have these come in.
I made a pull request with absolutely no information in it. So
perfect.
You can reject it and show everybody what that looks like.
So here's what we see. So I see, the changes that she made. So she was updating, Becca was updating her existing member profile, right? So I could see that she did a comment and she made it a circle. She removed her code newbie thing and added badges, right? So I say, all right. So what I'm going to say is, please include a description in your pull request, right? Before I do this, actually, this is actually kind of a fun thing. So I can make comments inline, like attached to some code, right? So I do this a lot with work. This becomes very useful, right? So you can ask questions about specific things like, did you choose triple here? Or something like that. And then I can start a review and I can do some more things and request changes, right? All right. So now Becca will say, we'll get a notification that I have, as a maintainer, requested some changes and see some comments. There's little inline threads here on the specific code changes, and I can resolve them, things like that. But this is a big changes requested thing. So when I look at this list here, I can see the changes requested, and Becca will get a comment, an email notification or whatever notification asking for, with my comments, things like that. So she could push some changes up if she wanted to fix it. I'm going to say, never mind, circles are great. And then I can resolve this and it will stop showing up in the view, right? And generally, once this starts, what we want to do is, if somebody has left a review, if a maintainer has left a review on your pull request and asked for changes, if you've made those changes and pushed them up, then you can re-request like a review. Then that will let the maintainer know that you think you've completed the things or whatever, and then they can kind of review it again.
Is
but
anybody else doing this right now? I cannot run it locally, so I have no idea what this looks like. No, I was able to run it locally last week, and just now I am unable to. So,
all right. If anybody is having trouble and they've run it before and are having trouble right now, I would say, if the server is running, quit the server, and then you can delete the cache folder here and the netlify folder, and then run yarn dev again. So those are two folders that like Remix and netlify use to cache some local stuff. And so if you're having some problems running it locally, that sometimes will fix them. Sometimes not. Does anybody have any questions about that workflow or I don't know, any just kind of general questions about GitHub or whatever? I think that's pretty much it for the run through of this issue. And so I'd be happy to hang out for a little bit and kind of talk through GitHub or, I don't know, anything really.
Yeah. Issues you're working on, projects you're working on, or want to
Yeah.
contribute to. Anybody who asked for a mentor, all mentors were notified this morning. So you should hear from them in the next day or two. If you don't, let us know.
Yeah, we'll also I have a list of potential issues for the site that I'm going to be adding, for potential contributors. So I'll post in Hacktoberfest once those are up. But also if people have things they'd like to see on the virtual coffee site, a really great way to, especially for us and, maybe maybe other repositories, but a really great way to find a contribution to do is to write the issue yourself, right? As opposed to sorting through issues and trying to find one. If you have an idea for an improvement for a thing, a great thing to do is just go ahead and write the issue. And then sometimes sometimes maintainers will say, well, we're not going to really go that direction or whatever, and that's fine, but you wouldn't want to waste your time, much time, but, or they'll say, this sounds awesome. And, go for it. I think Meg had a question.
I just want before
Oh,
I
go
just
ahead.
want to jump in real quick. I want to say if they have discussions enabled too, they might want you to start with a discussion before creating an issue. So definitely look at their contributing guide to see
Yes.
what their mode of communication is.
Yes, thank you, Becky. That's a good call. We have a big contributing guide on virtual coffee, and yeah, that's on our checklist is like a guide to what is the process. So that's a really good call. Yeah, Meg, what's up?
Two things. I was going to say that I actually, when you the latest commit to this is fix typo, and I was going to say that just like breezing through the website, I've noticed things that are like typos or formatting issues or something like that. And that's just like a really good, that's what I like to call low-hanging fruit, like good things to pick up on. And they're quick and easy pull requests to put in. Also, Jessica put in the chat that she loves the inline feature, especially the suggested code changes. I just found out about this a week ago, but as a maintainer, when you're going if you could click on that, Dan, when you're looking at the files changed, if you click on the plus or minus, you can leave a comment there, but there's actually if you, oh, you can do it there too. See, I just learned this too. There's if you're looking at the file itself, if you click on next, to the right of the number, the plus or minus, it's in a different view. You can put inline suggestions there as well. But there's multiple ways to do this, and I just never knew. I was always I'll just leave a comment and say, maybe you should try this. Whereas, there's that much easier way to express that. Yeah. Was it? Yeah. Isn't that?
Oh, that's cool. I actually hadn't seen that before either. That's really cool.
That is all.
Thank you. Thank you, Meg, for calling that out. And thanks, Jessica, obviously, for I really, yeah, I'm in that view all, I mean, like, I'm making comments like this all the time, and I'd never clicked that. That's awesome. Very cool. Lauren, how's it going?
Okay. This diverges a little bit from what you showed us today, but
All good.
is there a good resource, maybe in this repo or otherwise, that points out some of the like good projects to work on, or just like kind of a list of them?
Yeah, we have been collecting those on the monthly
challenge.
The monthly challenge page for us for Hacktoberfest, which just went live. Since it is just become October, whatever. And so we're collecting, we're keeping, if you scroll down a little bit, these are ones that we like either maintainers or our members have basically looked at and approved, like based across we have our maintainer checklist. So we basically have a checklist of things that we look for when we are looking at a potential, see if it's linked in here. It might not be. Anyway, I'll pull it up next. But anyway, these are ones that we have, like, our members have basically collected and suggested and said, hey, these are like reliable, repos that are participating in Hacktoberfest as well. And so this list, I would be super happy with keeping up to date too. So please, if people find more repos that aren't on this list, go ahead and like maybe share them in the Hacktoberfest room. We can get them onto this list. We're maintaining this in Airtable. So unfortunately, adding that wouldn't be a pull request situation, but it'd be nice as a team to all kind of, if you find a good repo that has open issues, things like that, we'd love to hear about it as well. But yeah, Lauren, this is a good place to start. And we will kind of we'll keep this up to date, and we'll keep the Hacktoberfest room going, people sharing things in there as well. Yeah. Finding stuff to work on is I don't know, can be challenging. And, we try to provide some stuff in virtual coffee for people to work on, but there's only so much we can do there. So usually I dump in, 10 issues and they all get knocked out in the first week and then I'm out of juice. But yeah, so hopefully that, yeah, and Becca put the repository checklist link in the chat. So that's kind of our baseline stuff. Bye, Sadie. Yeah, if anybody doesn't have any more questions or anything, I think we might try to wrap up. Becca, do you have anything final to add or anything like that?
No, I just keep getting a 500 error when I try and run it locally. So
all right, well,
thanks.
I'll work with you after this. We can figure it out. So yeah. Reynold is posting there's some code to use the terminal to do this stuff. And yeah, like I said, I try to avoid the terminal when I can, and so that's just me. But if you know the terminal, then you know how to do this stuff anyway. And if you don't, I think it's easier just to not concentrate on it at first. So that's my thing. Jessica, what's up?
Yeah, you had mentioned the terminal. I was just going to say, for like merge conflicts, to avoid, you can technically do it, I think, in the terminal, but like avoid that at all costs. If you can find some sort of nice like code editor, like in VS Code, will do it, and show you those changes. Or if you need help, you can just reach out to the maintainer, and they'll try to help you out resolve that merge request or that merge conflict there. But that's all I wanted to mention, is like avoid trying to do that in the terminal, because that's not as much fun, and it might be a little difficult to kind of resolve that conflict.
Yeah, absolutely. It's I don't know. I have a whole rant about it. I'm not going to get into it right now. If you like using the terminal, then that's totally fine. I'm never going to try to convince anybody not to, but I feel like it just wastes so much time and it causes so much confusion. And there's good tools to not use it these days. The GitHub, if you're using like GitHub all the time, then the GitHub desktop app is actually pretty cool too. And they have a good view for merge conflicts, things like that. VS Code's is fine. It's very simple, but VS Code is also like you don't have to use GitHub. So there's other Git services besides GitHub. There's like Gitbucket and I don't know, other ones. So GitHub Desktop only works for GitHub, obviously, but it's cool. They have a lot of cool like pull request stuff, stuff to help the flow that we just kind of ran through. And it's free too. It's cool.
We
Yeah.
also, I just want to mention again, we've got the Hacktoberfest co-working room open. So if you ever want to work on Hacktoberfest stuff, you can chill in there. And we're also looking for people to spend like mentorship time in there. So if you know you have an hour a week and you want to sit in there and answer people's questions about open source stuff, let me know. I do have I used a Google Sheet because I am very fancy, but I have a sign up for that. Or another thing I was thinking you could do is something like async or synchronous check-in. So if you all want to get together and say how your Hacktoberfest is going, or maybe do a watch party. We've got some open source resources on our YouTube channel. So if everybody wants to get in there and watch it, if they missed it, or it doesn't have to be a virtual coffee thing, right? If there's a good Hacktoberfest video that somebody else has done, say, hey, I'm going to be in the Hacktoberfest co-working room at this time, and let's do a watch party and we can talk about this together or chat about it or whatever. But I thought those would be some other fun ways to utilize the co-working room.
Nice. All right. Well, I just found a bug. That's probably my fault. So sorry, Chris, I was going to merge this in, but I think I broke something. So yes, thank you, Becca. The co-working room will be fun. And we're going to do some, we're going to do some stuff, some streaming stuff and things like that too. So it'll be a fun month. And yeah, I'd say if anybody's having trouble during the month, really anytime, but like, especially during this month, please just share it in the Hacktoberfest room and we can kind of, we'll all work together and, get things done. All right, cool. Well, if nobody has any other questions or comments, I think we will wrap up. Thank you so much for joining me. Thank you for your help and your comments and questions. And I don't know, keep hacking. Should have thought of a good, headline. Didn't get a good one, but
We're not good at goodbyes.
no, we're not. I'm just going to keep rambling until somebody hits stop. But I appreciate all of you. And yes, we will see you in the Hacktoberfest room.